Well, it all started last year, in her rookie season, where she received 20% of all the flagrant fouls in the league. And most of them came from Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky. And these weren't basketball plays. They were not only fouling her, but they were getting up, laughing about it, laughing about Caitlin Clark getting assaulted. Any other work environment, people go to jail for what's going on.
Caitlin Clark's 2024 season was supposed to be her breakout, the year she turned the WNBA upside down. But instead of a fairy tale rise, fans got something they never expected, a season filled with injuries, frustration, and controversy. What started as small whispers about soreness grew into one of the most talked-about sagas in women's basketball history. So what really happened? And why do so many fans believe the league wasn't being honest about its biggest star? Let's break it down. Caitlin Clark wasn't just another rookie. She was the rookie. The one ESPN couldn't stop talking about. The one who had arenas sold out before she ever played a professional game. The Indiana Fever drafted her not just to win games, but to save a franchise, and, some would argue, to save the WNBA itself. Everywhere she went, it was the same story. Sold-out crowds, record TV ratings, jersey sales through the roof. The Clark effect wasn't hype. It was real, measurable impact. But with all that success came pressure. The league leaned heavily on her to be everywhere. Commercials, press tours, marquee matchups, and of course, carrying the Fever on the court. But what happens when the body carrying all that weight starts to break down?
Caitlin Clark, out for the remainder of the 2025 season, something we all think we knew was coming after what Stephanie White said earlier today. We couldn't be too sure until we see it for ourselves. And with this announcement from the GOAT's mouth herself, Caitlin Clark won't be returning this season, nor if the Indiana Fever make the playoffs.
Clark's struggles didn't hit all at once. They built up slowly, game by game, while fans tried to believe everything was fine. It began in May. After a string of heavy minutes, Clark reported quad tightness. At first, nobody panicked. It was brushed off as soreness. But her movement looked different, less explosive, more hesitant. The team called her day-to-day, and fans trusted it. Then June arrived, and the story shifted. Suddenly, it was a groin strain. Still day-to-day, still downplayed. But the eye test told another story. Clips of her limping through games spread across social media. Commentators began to question whether the team was telling the full truth. By July, the hammer dropped. A season-ending groin injury was announced. Even then, the Fever dangled hope, hinting she could return late in the year. Fans called it cruel, emotional whiplash. Then in August came the final blow, a painful bone bruise setback during rehab. With that, her season, only 13 games long, was officially over. But by now, it didn't feel like bad luck anymore. It felt like something bigger.
And last year, I noticed how much it was just Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was taking all the hits. Caitlin Clark was taking all the abuse. But this year they've added Sophie Cunningham. She gets more flagrant fouls on her than anybody in the league besides Caitlin Clark. And Aaliyah Boston, she's been taking hits as well. But the worst thing is the consistency. So they don't call flagrant fouls, or most of the time, Caitlin Clark could be held for an entire game at a time. They don't call fouls. They don't call common fouls.
If there's one phrase that defines this saga, it's day-to-day. From May through July, no matter what the diagnosis was, the updates sounded identical. Quad tightness, day-to-day. Groin strain, day-to-day. Rehab setback, day-to-day. To fans, it didn't sound like honesty. It sounded like salesmanship. Every vague update kept ticket holders hopeful, kept TV ratings steady, and kept sponsors happy. But the truth? Clark wasn't close to returning. When she did try to play, she looked far from herself. Slower, tentative, drained. Fans felt misled. And when the bone bruise setback finally killed the maybe she'll be back dream, trust was shattered. The phrase day-to-day became a joke online, a symbol of how disconnected the league's messaging was from reality.
The WNBA and all the people that follow the WNBA and try to promote the WNBA don't understand that Caitlin Clark's game resonates with us. I say this every day, and every day I got to deal with somebody else dumb in the media. Caitlin Clark's game resonates because she's got flair, she's got flash, she's got style. I said this before, and I'll say this again. We saw Sue Bird's game. We saw Diana Taurasi's game. Kim Mulkey was Sue Bird before Sue Bird became Sue Bird. We've seen it. We haven't seen Caitlin Clark.
The backlash was immediate. On social media, fans accused the Fever and the WNBA of stringing them along. Some demanded refunds for tickets. Others swore off the league entirely, saying they'd been lied to. And then came the conspiracies. Some claimed the Fever knew her season was over as early as June, but hid it to milk every last dollar. Others speculated the league itself pressured the team to keep Clark's name active because without her, ratings would crater. Were those claims true? Maybe not. But in the court of public opinion, it didn't matter. The trust was gone. By then, the story wasn't just about an injury, it was about credibility.
The folks that cover the NBA, these people that play in the NBA, these people that cover the NBA, there I said these people, all of you, black, white, green, purple, why don't you understand a very simple thing? Her game is dynamic. Like Diana Taurasi was like a jackass to Caitlin Clark. Why? Her game is what people are drawn to. And then you go to the personality. Her game is different than any WNBA woman ever. And she wins, and she shoots from deep. It's no different than Steph Curry. How many times we got to say?
With Clark sidelined, the Fever had to reinvent themselves. Kelsey Mitchell became the go-to scorer, shouldering the offensive load. Aaliyah Boston anchored the defense, fighting for every rebound. Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham took on the role of scrappers, keeping the energy alive. Odyssey Sims added veteran stability. They fought hard, even scraping together wins to stay in the playoff conversation. But the spark wasn't there. The crowds weren't as loud, the headlines weren't as big, and the national spotlight shifted elsewhere. Without Clark, the Fever became just another team, fighting but surviving, not thriving.
Let's talk about the WNBA and the league's demise now that Caitlin Clark is no longer going to play this season. The WNBA and the Indiana Fever, Stephanie White, Amber Cox, all the way up and including, let's just keep it real, Kathy Engelbert, Adam Silver, the National Basketball Association, everybody that participated in the farce.
The real crisis was bigger than Indiana. It was the league itself. TV ratings dipped sharply once Clark was gone. Sellout crowds turned into empty seats, the resale market collapsed, and sponsors who had banked on Clark's image began pulling back their campaigns. The WNBA had built its biggest year ever on one player, and when she went down, the cracks showed immediately. All-Star Weekend, once billed as a celebration of the game, felt flat without her. Ticket demand dropped, and fans complained it lacked energy. Other stars were promoted, but none could match Clark's gravitational pull. The NBA survived losing Jordan, the NFL survived losing Brady. But the WNBA? It had never been more dependent on a single star. Which brings us to the leadership question. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert praised Clark endlessly when she was healthy. But when the injury drama unfolded, Engelbert's updates were vague at best, evasive at worst. Fans noticed. Announcements always seemed delayed or strategically timed to minimize backlash. Instead of honesty, they got polished sound bites about player wellness. Soon, calls for Engelbert to step down were trending. Critics accused her of gambling the league's reputation for short-term profit. Even players began hinting at frustration with how communication was handled. For a league desperate to grow, the crisis wasn't just about losing Clark. It was about losing credibility at the top. So what's next? For now, it's rehab, and more rehab. Clark is rebuilding strength, working with specialists, and trying to ensure this doesn't become a recurring issue. But soft tissue injuries are unpredictable, and every fan knows it. Some believe she'll come back stronger, pointing to her legendary work ethic. Others worry she'll never be the same, that the pressure to return will lead to another setback. And then there's the question of how she'll be managed. Will the fever limit her minutes, or will the league push her right back into heavy workloads to recapture lost revenue? Either way, her legacy is already on the line. If she comes back and dominates, this lost season becomes part of her redemption arc. If not, it risks being remembered as the start of a career of what-ifs. Caitlin Clark's second season was supposed to elevate the WNBA into a new era. Instead, it revealed just how fragile the system really is. What began as a minor injury became a season-ending saga filled with secrecy, fan outrage, and leadership missteps. And now, the league must answer a hard question. Is it building a sustainable future, or just riding one superstar until the wheels fall off? As for Clark, her story is far from finished. She's already proven she can change the game. Now she has to prove she can come back from its harshest setback. And one thing's for sure, the entire sports world will be watching.